So, guys, let me tell you about this movie. Okay, so it starts off with this woman named Peggy, and she's talking to this dude, and she's like, the only reason why I led you on is because I thought you could help my husband. He's a genius, but he just can't catch a break. But we need to stay friends. Homeboy is not hearing it. He's like, I'm madly in love with you. He tries to take advantage of her. You hear her scream, and then a thud. Like, homeboy is dead. She done killed this dude, right? Well, her husband walks in, and he sees the body on the floor. He's like, oh, snap, we got to get out of here. We got to go. Well, they end up getting caught. Her husband, Boyd, takes the blame for the murder and is sentenced to life. He leaves behind his wife, Peggy, and his baby girl, Dorothy. Well, after 15 years, he's paroled, and he comes home to find his wife living lavishly, having changed her name, and is partying up with the social elite. Well, he comes to the house, and she walks out of the party. She doesn't shake his hand. She doesn't embrace him. Nothing. She's like, oh, well, they told me you were getting up next week. I would have been there. He's like, over the years, you may have even forgot you had a husband. You wouldn't dare tell those people who I am. Homegirl almost cries at the thought of her friends knowing who he is. So they decided to kind of keep his identity, his relationship, his sentence to murder. They decided to keep that on the low. And the only person who knows is the judge who put him away. Okay? Well, Boyd ends up meeting his daughter as a young adult, and she doesn't even know this is her father. Well, at the party, Dorothy's been hit on by some guy, and she is not feeling it. She's got her eyes set on one man, and his name is Paul. Well, her mother's in some corner trying to arrange some marriage with some dude with some title, some huge status. Well, Paul and Dorothy are outside in the garden. Paul proposes, and so they come back into the party, and Dorothy makes her announcement. She's like, "We getting married, y'all!" Woo, woo, woo. Right? Well, her mom is not happy. She's like, "If you don't break off this engagement, I will ruin Paul. I will ruin him." She had given Paul use of the patents to start his business. Well, she said, if you don't break this off, I'm going to pull my patents, and I'm going to make him a laughing stock. Well, Dorothy's like, I don't care. I love him. Well, Boyd walks in, and he's like, I only care about Dorothy's happiness. And if you stand in the way of her happiness, I will tell everybody who I am. Well, some time passes, and Boyd is trying to, just kind of get into this lavish lifestyle. He's trying to fit the part. Well, Peggy's like, oh, well, the judge is downstairs, but I figured you wouldn't want to meet him. Boyd is like, matter of fact, I do. Well, he goes upstairs to talk to the judge, and the judge is like, have you thought about what your return means to this family? He said, you're going to tear down everything that they built. You have no place in their life anymore. Boyd is like, I ain't going nowhere. Well, he does decide to leave, but not because of the judge or not because of what anybody has said. He just decides to leave. Well, as he's leaving, his buddy from prison is hanging out behind the bushes. He pops up, and he's like, hey, boy, this is a nice place. This is a nice place you're coming out of. You wouldn't be holding out on me, would you? Boyd's like, this is just some friends of mine, right? Well, later, Paul and Dorothy are talking to Boyd, and they're like, Peggy has threatened to disinherit Dorothy if they go through with this marriage. Well, Boyd's like, you know what, don't even worry about it. I'm going to call her. I'm going to talk to her. Well, Biffer Bill comes in the room. He introduces himself, sits down, throws his feet up on the couch, grabs a drink, an entire plate. He ain't got no manners whatsoever. Well, Boyd gets on the phone and he's talking to Peggy. He's like, look, we need to talk later about Dorothy. Different Bill over here like, make sure she brings a friend. Make sure it's a blonde. I already don't like this dude. Well, Paul and Peggy, no. Boyd and Peggy are talking later. And he's like, look, if you stand in the way of their happiness, I'm going to tell Dorothy who I am. Well, she's like, fine, they can get married. Well, he's like, okay, well, let's call in Dorothy. Let's tell her the good news. Well, where's Paul? She's like, oh, well, the judge called him. The judge needs to talk to him. Boyd's like, oh, snap, I got to be there. Well, Paul and the judge are talking, and the judge is like, you need to know what you're marrying into. Dorothy's father is a murderer. Paul's like, I don't care. He's like, you know what? If you go through with this marriage, I'm going to tell Dorothy what's up. Paul's like, oh, no. He grabs the judge by the coat, and just as he does, the servant walks in, and Paul backs down, okay? He walks out. Now, guys, I don't know how Bifford Bill got in this room, but he comes out of hiding, he bops the judge over the head and ends up killing him, and then makes a run for it. Well, the servant automatically thinks it was Paul because he saw them arguing. So poor Paul, he is arrested and brought into jail. Well, remember, Boyd was on the way to that house, and he saw Bifford Bill. So he follows him to an apartment that's above a bar. And he's like, he plays it cool, too. He's like, you know what, I got a job for us, but, I don't have a gun. Do you have a gun? And Bifford Bill's like, of course I got a gun. I got you. Well, he gives it to Boyd. Boyd takes the gun, and he aims it at Bifford Bill. He's like, you have an innocent man arrested for the murder you committed. I'm taking you in. This ain't right. Well, he's still pointing the gun. He goes to make a phone call, and Bifford Bill attacks him. He attacks him, kicks him, beats poor Boyd into a coma. Okay? Now, meanwhile, Paul is being interrogated. They're like, the servant heard you arguing with the judge, so why'd you kill him? He's like, I didn't kill him. I tried to keep him quiet about something, but I didn't kill him. Well, Peggy had actually hired a lawyer for Paul. And the lawyer's like, look, this isn't going to be easy. Paul's not saying anything. Do you know why he was talking with the judge or what they were talking about? And Peggy's like, look, if I tell you, it's going to sound like a motive, and it's going to steal his fate. Well, the lawyer's like, okay, well, we'll do what we can. Well, Peggy and Dorothy are talking, and she gives Dorothy a letter that states that Boyd is in the hospital. Well, Dorothy goes to see him, and he's kind of in and out of his coma. He's like speaking incoherently, and he mentions Bifford Bill. He mentions the gun. Well, Dorothy puts two and two together. Okay. Well, as soon as Boyd is better, he goes to the police and is like, look, it was me that killed the judge. This was my motive. He put me away some time ago. It was me. So they lock poor Boyd up, right? Well, Peggy, having put two and two together, gets the police. They go to that bar. They storm that apartment upstairs, arrest Bifford Bill. Now they're coming down the stairs, right? And Bill gets like some signal. Lights cut out, commotion is heard, gunshots are going off, lights come back on, Bifford Bill is gone, and so is Dorothy. Well, the police surround the area, they end up catching him, they arrest Bifford Bill, they rescue Dorothy, and guys, this has such a happy ending. They release Paul, they release Boyd, they have a little family reunion right there in the little jailhouse. And they've gone on to live happy lives. Well, this was To the Final Scene. I hope you've enjoyed. And if you want to see more, like, share, and subscribe.